Hi, welcome to J&A Voices for Change, aka The Jam. This is Anthony, and these are my views and my opinions only, and I am protected under the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and these are my opinions and my opinions only. We have a special guest today. Welcome to the podcast, the YouTube channel, Jose Cardenas. Welcome.
Hi, Anthony. How are we doing, Anthony?
I'm good. We're just going to bring up a couple of subjects. The reason for the movement is we've been wrongfully terminated from Sunline Transit Agency for speaking up on hostile workplace and broken driver seats, lack of restrooms, and lack of break. I know Jose used to be a driver there at Sunline. I want to see if you could tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yes, of course. I started driving a bus since 1998. I first started in Imperial County. I worked for Imperial County Transit for 2 years. Then I transferred myself to Sunline Transit in the year 2000, 2001. That's when I first started. And my stay there was until 2013, actually September the 9th of 2013. And that's my work experience so far. The things that I noticed from many different situations that I had lived in Sunline when I was working there is that they do have and still exist to this day problems with the equipment, the routes, and now I believe it's getting worse. Now it seems that now there's a hectic problem with drivers being let go for no reason, just because of their age or looking for any particular reason. Especially when they talk about Sunline equipment or safety equipment and the situation going around the valley. And I believe you are a victim of that.
Yes, I am. I am a victim for change, and I want to know a little bit about what happened to you. How come you're no longer working there?
Well, in 2013, I believe in January or in February, I was stepping out of a bus on the Indio station, and I missed my step, and I actually fractured my ankle and my knee. I fell to the ground, and I wasn't able to stand up. After that, it went all the way down the hill. Actually, that happened 2 years. I believe it was in 2011 when actually that incident or accident, how they call it incident, it happened. I did receive all the care that I supposed to take, but when I was trying to come back to to work, I struggled a little bit trying to get information in which I was getting a good health bill, what they call it. When the doctor released me to go back to work, they didn't give me the right information to introduce into Sunline meetings to HR, so I was let go for that reason. I wasn't able to put my information in from the doctor, letting me go, saying that I was good to come back to work.
Oh,
That
wow.
was the reason I was let go.
Wow. So you basically ran out of time, and
Exactly.
yeah, so they didn't give you the right information. Okay, so from an outside perspective of how things were back then to what they are now, from an outside perspective, how do you feel this agency is going?
When I first started, I noticed that all the routes were covering all the cities, all the 11 cities, all the way to Mecca, all the way to Desert Hot Springs. All the routes were covered, not only with personnel, but also with equipment and service. The only thing that we had in those days that was a transition between diesel and natural gas vehicles, in which I believe Sunline was one of those companies that was used as a test ground. So that we were using new vehicles, they were using electric or natural gas, in which, as far as I'm concerned, they did the job. But like anything that is new and anything that has what they call it potential to break down, they did happen. My concern was that when I was driving these new vehicles, because all the drivers had to learn how to drive those new vehicles with this new technology, well, they have problems, especially with the type of weather that we have in Coachella Valley. As we know, we're in the center of every single weather you can think of, all the way from the extreme heats all the way to extreme cold. So those units were breaking down right and left, but we did have enough vehicles to cover just in case a bus will break down. And also we have enough other buses and routes that will help just in case the bus will break down. That's what I noticed when I came to work for Sunland. But during the years, maybe after they really were getting other grants from other departments, from other technology, they start lacking on the energy efficient vehicles that we have and putting in test these new vehicles. They were breaking down every single day. Even I drove a couple of them. They will die on me on the street. They will die on me in the corner, putting myself and my passengers in danger. So it went. If I braked, it went up. I think they were trying to change the vehicle as soon as possible without looking the signs that they had. You had to have certain time to experiment on those vehicles and experience what those vehicles were doing. But they didn't care. They simply were taking the efficient vehicles who actually they were performing correctly and put this new technology vehicles that were breaking down. And of course, we didn't have enough technicians to fix those vehicles. That was a second major problem. New vehicles breaking down and no technicals or technicians that will work on them to get those vehicles out of the road and give better service to the consumers.
Yeah, I noticed that over the years, uh, back then when Oglesby was there, I know that if somebody was out there waiting for at a bus stop, uh, I mean, one bus broke down. It was rare that that happened, but they used to have other vehicles standing by, whether it was trippers or vehicles that were going out of service. They knew how to coordinate and add those vehicles to provide service to the passenger. Uh, I seen a post the other day on an individual at a bus stop, and they're removing the bus stops from all the most of the routes, and people are forced to be in the sun, and then with no vehicles running in service, they're forced to wait out there in the heat. Uh, Bus stops, shelters. I understand the homeless problem that's taking place, but what about the worker? Do they have to suffer because somebody else decided to make a home at the bus stop? I don't believe that the working class people, it's funded by the government, and it should be for the people. It just poor management. I'm going to read you a message that I received today. Um, that the routes, the following routes are not in service. The 1-4, no 4-3, 4-4, 6-3, 6-4, 5-3, 5-4, 2-10, 2-9, 1-13, and 1-14. I know I could tell you that there is multiple people that have tried to apply there to get a job with no avail. So if it's a shortage in drivers, why is it that the drivers are sitting in a driver's lounge? Because they don't have buses. hydrogen vehicles. You invested in hydrogen vehicles without testing them to see how sufficient they were. Now the public is suffering. Also, I want to bring up one extra thing that a guy in a wheelchair named James boards the bus and he waited at a bus stop. Mind you, there might not be a shelter there for over 2 hours waiting for a bus. I think that's a violation of American with Disabilities Act.
You have to put in mind that when a bus line is cut, also that means that a driver is not working, and it depends if they put two drivers for the day shift and the evening shift. So if you get 8 or 9 lines out, that means that you have 8 or 9 drivers without any work to do. So I don't know what is the logic on that. The only thing I know is, as you mentioned, is the passengers, the one who are suffering, to get a transportation system to take them whatever they're going to take. For example, all those new lines that you mentioned, I really don't know which direction they go. It's so confusing. When I was there, and I know you were there, we had line 30. Everybody knew what line 30 was.
Yeah.
We had line 14. Everybody knew who was line 14, and so on and so forth. I drove for many, many years line 111, and it was the evening ones. I drove the 70-1 and then the 70-2. I drove both lines, and that's the one that goes back and forth on Washington, all the way to La Quinta, all the way to Washington Street, close to the free Interstate 10. You know, those days were not confusing, and the people knew that they had at least 4 units out there that will help whatever lines were already on service. We had what they call it the College of the Desert line, in which we had an extra bus out there. We were doing all kind of stuff to help the consumers, and of course, with that you can receive the favoritism of the consumer for sunlight. Now it's completely worse. Now as a what? Oh my gosh!
Can you imagine how the drivers were as confused? How can you tell the customer where to go or what to do if you were confused? It was a system that was working back then. It was simple and people understood it for many years. The minute they changed it, there was so much confusion with the passengers and also the drivers. I think they cut a lot of service to the routes, a lot of service, but they're asking for more funds. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It's like how can you ask for more money when the vehicles you already have you don't use? Now, one of the things that I forgot to mention, that during the period of time that I worked there, all the drivers who were on the lounge, waiting for something, hopefully not waiting for something terrible, something like a bus breakdown or change drivers, they were always certain they were going to be out there helping, as far as I'm concerned. And when that happens, is that we might have 2 people waiting, who were scheduled to stay on the property as a standby, 2 or 3, and all those people were always used. Why? Not every single day, I can tell you that. There were some days that they would stay there all day long, but they will help, the people inside the office move the buses around, or simply go and change a bus. In other words, it was constant. There was no reason there was a bus late. There was no reason a bus will break down and nobody will help, send another bus. The longer that I ever remember staying, if my bus broke down, because it did happen a few times, the longer I had to wait is exactly between 10 to 15 minutes. Now I have no idea how long they're going to stay. And that's besides the point. Really, if you think about it, what about the time to relax, to unwind a little bit when you're driving from Palm Springs all the way to Indio. Now I think it's all the way to from
Desert.
Pan Desert to all the way to Coachella. I don't know that time frame when they're gonna take a break. We always had a problem going to the bathroom or take a break, unwind a little bit. And I remember they used to give us time to unwind a little bit, to have a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever is required, to keep going forward with the company schedule. Right now, I have no idea. I don't know how you guys do it, to tell you the truth.
The time they crunched it more and more and more, they went from a 25-minute headway to a 20-minute headway, but you couldn't even stay on time doing 25-minute headway. See, the problem that there is as an operator, now you pull up to a bus stop and that person has been waiting for near an hour. Guess what happens to you? They chew you out. It has nothing to do with you. So that's just a trickle effect as far as stress, tension, and then people at the bus stop. You don't know if they're just sitting there on the curb like that person that made that post. Uh, um, that he made a post that he was sitting. I mean, he took a picture of them sitting at the bus stop. I was like, okay, well, there's no. His name is Jeff Denan, Denean Jones. It says, I'm gonna read it out to you because it says this is how PT travelers have to wait for a bus, one of our busiest thoroughfares, through fairs and intersections, Taquas Canyon and Sunrise. Does this look safe or even reasonable to you? People deserve better, Sunline Transit Agency. And then it says, P.S. I'm a complainer because this is ridiculous. I don't know if you could see that. No, you won't be able to see it. But anyways,
Yeah,
the
you can send it. You can send it later. You
yeah,
can send that information later. But
yeah,
I think I
I can
read a
put
little
it.
bit about it.
Yeah. But basically, there's people out there complaining. It's not just us. It's not us complaining. It's stuff that it's a trickle effect. It's a trickle effect, and it's not fair. Um, I'm gonna we're gonna continue for part two of this video. Uh, Make sure you follow us, you like, and you subscribe. And these are our views and only our opinions.